What's going on, guys? MariK here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the original Star Wars Battlefront that came out in 2004, the game that started it all. With the release of the Battlefront Classic Collection just 2 weeks away, we thought we'd go ahead and go over the older games for those people who haven't played them before, or for those who need a bit of a refresher course. Today we're going to be taking a look at the various classes in the game and just going over a brief overview of what each class has at its disposal and which class is best within each faction. As we go over each class, we're going to be starting with what I think is the worst faction for each class. So we'll be starting from the bottom with the worst of each class all the way going up to what I believe is the best of each class. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the specialist classes. At the bottom of this list is the Separatist Droideka. It only has the one weapon, being the dual blaster cannons, and for your secondary, it has a personal shield generator. Aside from being able to move across the battlefront faster than other infantry classes, you do have your personal shield generator that allows you to kind of tank some hits that you otherwise wouldn't live, like rockets or grenades. But the dual blaster cannons just don't really seem to get enough damage across. Also, when you're a Droideka, other Droidekas are your worst enemy, worse than any clone trooper could ever be. Its movement is just impaired so heavily. The shield doesn't last that long, especially if you're taking fire from either the clone ARC troopers or the jet troopers. Those EMP launchers just eat away at your shield so fast. It just, honestly, it's kind of a fun class because you're like, oh, I'm a Droideka, that's cool. But really, your movement, the ability to just get pushed around, and the fact that you really can't do as much damage. I mean, yeah, if they're standing in front of you and they don't move, you'll mow them down. But it's such a class that is cool in theory, but it's just not fun to play in practice. I can't really see any reason outside of maybe just, standing in a choke point that you could hold down and prevent the enemy from getting through. But with enough concentrated fire, the Droideka's shield doesn't last long. It's just, overall, it is probably the worst class to play as, in my opinion, outside of playing as either the clone pilot or maybe even the droid pilot. It's just don't do it to yourself. Up next, we have the Wookiee Warrior. Its bowcaster has 135 rounds in each magazine with 175 shots in reserve. It fires single fire blasts. You can also charge it down partially for a partial charged blast, or you can hold the trigger all the way down to fire 7 shots horizontally at once. Its secondary weapon is a grenade launcher similar to the TIE Fighter pilot, except there is no charge function and it does not explode on impact. The grenades only bounce and detonate after a short period of time. Its final weapon is its secondary weapon, which is a time bomb that blows up after 10 short seconds, and you can attach them to turrets as well as vehicles and health and ammo droids. While it is more fun to play as a Wookiee Warrior, it is slow as sin, just like the Droideka. It's also really not effective to use the bowcaster in single shot. You can use it that way to get headshot kills, but honestly, it just feels better to just charge it up. The Wookiee does have more health as well, so you're able to tank some hits better than other infantry classes, but it just, again, it feels like something is missing that makes this class good, or that could make this class good. It's not the worst, but outside of being able to tank several hits, it just doesn't feel like it gets the job done. If you get consecutive, charged bursts with the bowcaster, you could take out groups of enemies with enough damage into each of them, but outside of getting headshots, this thing just doesn't do well. Then next we have the Imperial Dark Trooper. Its blast cannon has 30 rounds in each magazine, fires 5 at a time, so 6 shots before having to reload, with 180 in reserve. It has the default blaster pistol for a secondary weapon, and 4 thermal detonators for dealing with enemy infantry. It also has the jump pack, which can shoot you straight up into the air by tapping double jump. Very helpful for getting away from enemies, and you can also use it to fly backwards or forward, whichever direction you want to go. Just like with the Rebel Pilot, the blast cannon for the Dark Trooper, it just really doesn't hit very well from distance. You're able to do damage here and there, but the spread is so inconsistent that you're just doing chip damage until you're eventually doing enough damage to score a kill. It does have twice as much ammo as the pilot, so you do have more opportunities to get those kills, but it just feels so bad to use the blast cannon. You're almost better off just trying to use the blaster pistol that comes with it, which doesn't feel great either. Having 4 grenades is pretty satisfying, and the best part about the Dark Trooper is just using it for just using the jetpack. That and just looking absolutely badass. It is one of the coolest designs that we've ever seen in Star Wars, and unfortunately we haven't seen it since, the original Battlefront and Battlefront 2. The blast cannon is pretty solid when you're really up close, but you're really up close with such a bad weapon, see? And if you're not good enough or fast enough or just lucky with the RNG of the spray, you could easily lose in that 1v1 despite having the coolest class in the game. At the top of the list, we have the Clone Jet Trooper with its EMP launcher, 2 EMP shots in each magazine with 6 in reserve. It also has the only commando pistol in the entire game. It shoots twice as fast, gets a lot more use out of each overheat, and has a total of 6 thermal detonators for use against enemy infantry. Besides the badass green and white color scheme, the Jet Trooper has several things going for it. First of all, it has probably the best weapon out of the specialist classes. The EMP launcher just shreds Droidekas and even takes out their shields in just 2 hits. Not to mention, you've got the commando pistol that it shoots faster, it does more damage, and it just makes the clone Jet Trooper feel much more unique than the others. While I do love the Dark Trooper and the Dark Trooper's ability to jet the fuck out of Dodge, it does feel like the Jet Trooper is a little more versatile because you do get more control with that jetpack, but you also have a better arsenal to not only take out your enemies, but to be able to progress through choke points and really be able to control the battlefront much better than the Dark Trooper would. The only complaint that I have is that it feels like you do go through your ammo a little too fast, and you're just going through it. You're just a giant murder machine, which is great, but also you're trying not to get murdered in the process. And see, you run out of ammo so fast, you're just having to scavenge more ammo from all the corpses you're leaving behind, which, I mean, I'm definitely not opposed of. Not to mention the EMP shot works wonders against the Droideka's shields, taking out the shield in just 2 single shots. So even better than using the rocket launcher from the Heavy Trooper. The only downside is the EMP launcher does not have the best splash damage. So it either has to be a really close shot for it to do effective damage without a direct hit, or it just has to pop them straight on the mouth. And that's going to be it for our tutorial on the specialist classes. The Jet Trooper is far above the others. The Dark Trooper is fun to play. The Wookiee is really just your prerogative, and I just honestly wouldn't touch the Droideka. Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection comes out in just 2 weeks, so we hope to see you on the Battlefront.